Hello and welcome to my um, presentation today on technology behind blockchain and Bitcoin as an example. My name is Ayappan and I'm a tech enthusiast. This presentation will go to understand the fundamentals of blockchain, exploring what a Bitcoin and miners. You'll be able to understand what is a blockchain. You'll be able to understand what is miners, what miners do, and the Bitcoin, a little bit more, and then the benefits of the application. Okay, so let's go in there. So when you think of blockchain, a blockchain is a series of data blocks that are held by an imaginary chain, right? So you have a data block, and that has got some information, and then you have another block which also got some information, and now these are connected by an imaginary chain. Okay, think about it like blocks and connected by chains. Okay, so so this chain is like a linked list, which means what I mean is you have blocks, and this block is connected to this block because this block has the information of where this block is. It stores that information, and then the next block has the information of where this block is, right? So that is how a chain is created, right? That's why it's called as blockchain. Okay, so understand that, right? So yeah, so we have what is called as smart contracts in a blockchain, where who should be adding these blocks, right? So these blocks are have to be created and maintained automatically. So who should be creating it? How these transactions, so there will be a blockchain, a lot of transactions. Those transactions are recorded there. So who, like how these transactions are bunched together into a certain block, right? And who should validate the block? So everything happens automatically in a blockchain. So who should validate it? How consensus is reached that a block is correct, right? Everything together is called, is done by software protocols, and these are called smart contracts. Okay, now let's understand live blockchain, right? So if we keep on go to a live place to understand it, we'll be able to understand it better. So if you look at it, this is a Bitcoin chain.com explorer assets BTC. So if you look at it, the price history of this, right, is today 69,382, and today is June 9th, right? And then if you see down here, you can see the blockchains, right? Now the latest block is 84,700 I'm sorry 84700 172, and it keeps on going, so the new block keeps getting added to it. And then if you come down, you can see that the circulating supply is 19 million, and the max supply is 21 million, right? So it's slowly, as and when the bitcoins are getting added, right, awarded, and they're getting created, so it's slowly increasing and then it starts to go towards the max supply. So I know some parts might be confusing, just stay with me, right? And then you have this transactions going in the blockchain. So this is a Bitcoin blockchain, this is a public blockchain, so that's why we're able to see everything. So the transactions are going one after the other very quickly, right? You're able to see hundreds of transactions happening today, right now, correct? And then the latest block, so these are getting bunched as a block, and then they're getting put here, right? So if you look at the latest block 847,172, you can see that 6,080 transactions are bunched together, and it's in 1.4 MB, and that is how it got added. Okay, so that is the important information here. And yeah, and then you have what is called as let us look into the Bitcoin. Okay, so this is, okay, all this information I'm going to give in the comments below, so you'll be able to see it. So if you look at it, you have explorer.btc.com/en/btc, So these links I'll give in the below, so you can take it. So if you look at it, you have the difficulty. The difficulty is they have a huge difficulty in mining this Bitcoin, right? So what is actually meant by mining, to some understanding, is that so I mean, you'll be able to understand a little bit now. Just understand that the difficulty is very, as you can see, that it is very high here, right? And then a lot of people are this Foundry USA, Antpool, this VRBTC, all these people are the miners, and they are able to mine it successfully. And you can also see that, I think you can see somewhere here how much they are awarded. Yeah, I think I don't know why I'm not able to find that information here. One sec. If we go here, probably you'll be able to find it. Okay, we'll be able to find it. Don't worry. So let's just go into the latest block. If you click on it, then you can see the latest block. If you see here, the Foundry USA pool have got the block. Okay, right? I mean, I have found this. I've been able to mine this block successfully. Right, and then they got a total reward of 3.13 BTC, if you notice. Right, this reward consisted of a base reward, additional, and all that. So because they did some extra work, right, and if you look, the capacity is 140%. So they are now, it's 100%, more than 100%. They're bunching the transactions really high, and then they're giving it up, and then they're making this block. So this is the so you get the idea, right? So this is how a block is getting created. I think now you've getting an idea about that. So let us look at the block 0. Okay, so I think if you look at the Bitcoin's block 0, the first block that ever got created. And if you look at the capacity, you saw 149%, all that there. You see here that it is only 0.03%, right? So that is the power. I mean, like the first one, now it has become very, a lot of transactions are happening. Now it is very high, but previously it was 0.03%. Okay, and the Coinbase message that is there here is the Times 3 January 2009, Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks, right? So that was in the newspaper of that day, 3rd January 2009. So that was put there. So it was, and if you notice another interesting thing here, that it was, the miner was Satoshi himself. Satoshi, as you know, Satoshi Nakamoto was the was a person who has the person who has found Bitcoin, and he mined it himself, the first one, and he got 50 BTC for that. So that was in those times it will be probably 1 cent or 1 penny or something like that, right? So it's a very small amount. So and then he got himself 50 BTC, and then so that is the first one. Okay, so now now you got an idea a little bit about a block. Let us try to go into a little bit block demo, right? So if you see here, this is a demo. This is again demo blockchain.org/hash. So this is one of the I'm going to put the link down. So this is a place where you also can go and try. So if you see the data, okay, this is a block. Consider this is a block, and this block has a hash, corresponding hash associated with it. Now this comes from what is called a SHA-256. Now this is a encryption that is found by US intelligence agencies, and it is for any data that is there, you will have a hash created like this. Okay, it's a huge hash, right? Hexadecimal characters. So let's say I introduce a value A, and notice that the hash is changed, right? Let's say AB has again changed, right? So for a given set of characters, the hash changes, or the hash length doesn't change. They find the same, but it is unique. Now if I open a separate window here, right, and then I put the same AB here, this hash will be the same. Which means for a given set of characters, a bunch of characters rather, this hash will be the same, right? So this is the basic idea that Bitcoin used, but the other blockchain can use a different encryption, but Bitcoin was using this one, right? And then you have, let's go a little bit deeper about a block. So let's say this is a block one, right? Then you have the data. So then you have the corresponding hash of that information, right? Let's say the information, something that's like this, right? You have the hash of this information here. So they have introduced something called as a nonce, a field. So because if you see there is already 8477762 some number we saw, right? So the next block, if you want to add, what the miner will do is this block, next block number is fixed, right? And then the data is also fixed. They'll have a bunch of transactions. So the data is also fixed. But what Bitcoin wants is, it wants the next hash should have 4 leading zeros, something like this. Mind it's got 4 leading zeros, you see. So this is a 4 leading zero, which means for this particular data, right, and this particular block, you need 4 zeros, then only it can be accepted as a proper block, right? So what else you can change? You cannot change this, you cannot change this, so you have to change the nonce. You have to keep on trying new numbers in the nonce, and then you try to come out with one number which actually has 4 leading zeros, and that will be the now you have mined it. Out of millions and millions of combinations of this nonce, you found one which is actually going to help you to add your block to the blockchain, right? I mean, like, so this is what is called as mining. Okay, now we got the miner. So now to add your block to this blockchain, this particular block needs to be so many validators tries to find that, and they use huge rigs. Okay, so let us look into all that, but then you got this idea, right? So how a block is mined, you got that idea. So now let's go to the blockchain demo itself. If you see here, this is a block one, okay, and then it's got a nonce, it's got some data. So if you see, the previous is all coming 00 because this is the first one, and it's got a hash, 4 leading zeros, right? So you have the block 2 just got the data, and then it has got 4 leading zeros also. But if you see, this hash of the block 1 is made as a previous of this hash, which means that this connection is there between this and this, right? So this block can now say I come after this block. That's why it is called as a previous here, right? Now this block has got a hash, right, with a block 2, and then it has got a specific nonce. Now this hash becomes a previous or next one, right? This is how Bitcoin is connected. This is how a chain happens. These are the blocks, and this is how a chain gets created. Okay, so you got the idea of a chain now, right? So that is how we are in this 8477762 number now, with a huge chain of blocks which has got all transactions bunched into them. Okay, so this is the concept of a blockchain. So let's go back to our demo. So yeah, so these are the one we just talked about this right now. So let's try to understand the problem here of why Bitcoin actually came into the picture, right? So if two people are there, right, if they want to transfer money between themselves, they have to go through a third party. Now, who is this? And that's a centralized third party. Now, who is this centralized third party? It can be a bank, it can be a credit card, it can be Visa, it can be MasterCard, it can be anything. So that third party has to come in between to make sure the money moves from one person to another person, right? Now, the problem with this is, right, so why happens like that, right? Why does it happen like that? One important reason is, let's say you try to send a photograph to another person, right? The photograph is sent to the other person, it goes into their email, they open it, and they're able to open it. So you have sent the photograph. But if you go to your own sent items, and then you can still see the photograph is there. You can open the photograph and see it yourself. So the photograph actually has not gone to the second person, but it has a copy of it is gone, right? A copy of it is gone. So this is called double spending, which means now you have created copies. That is a thing about digital, is something, when you have digital money, it cannot become copied. They cannot become two copies and you cannot be sending, right? So that is why you need a third party to make sure that money goes out of this person's account and goes into this person's account, right? So that is the problem with double spending. That is why a third party is very much required in between. So Bitcoin takes the place of a bank, right? It takes the place of a bank or any kind of a centralized third party, right? And then it makes sure money directly goes between two people without anybody in between. So this is called a disintermediated or permissionless, and you're just removing the intermediary in between. So looking at it another way, you have a centralized payment system right now that is there, which is a person goes to the bank, that is being changed to this Bitcoin, where a person can exchange money between themselves through these ledgers. And if you look at the Bitcoin process, so a buyer, right, he creates a transaction. He wants to send, let's say, 1 Bitcoin from this person to this person. He creates a transaction. The transaction goes into the chain. The chain gets validated. How the chain gets validated now. All these transactions along with this person, along with another 100 people, are bunched into one block, and that block is validated by different validators, otherwise called as miners, and they get a proper block with 4 leading zeros, and everybody other same miners validate it. Once they validate it, it gets added to the blockchain, right? So it gets added. Once it gets added, it gets everybody in the network, Bitcoin network, right? All the validators, they get that extra block in their blockchain, right? So it gets distributed to everybody. And once this transaction is done and the block is added, then this seller, whoever is a person who has to be got, the person gets it, right? So this is the blockchain process. So if you look at it, these are the validators. You look at the validators are present in US, in South America, in Europe, in Middle East, also in Asia, in Australia, New Zealand also, right? So you have this whole validation distributed across the world, which is why it cannot be shut down, right? Why means, like, let's say in South America they shut down these miners now. Still the other miners are present, and they will be able to validate, and they'll be able to certify whether a particular Bitcoin is particular block is correct or not. They can be able to verify, and they should be able to add also. So let's say somebody from Europe goes off, still they'll be able to do that. So that is the power of decentralization, right? And it is a trustless transaction, which means there is no third party involved. Okay, so it's basically, you think about Bitcoin now, it's just a series of blocks, and it has been used as a ledger. Now a ledger is something where all the transactions are put in, right? The same way the Bitcoin also puts in the blocks, all these transactions are put in, right? And it's a public, which means we ourselves saw what was there, right? What transaction was there, everything we saw, we're able to see. So the same thing here also, that's a public nature of the Bitcoin, allows it to be very much more transparent, right? And I missed out a point here to telling there is that it's immutable. This data that is put into blocks are immutable. See, if here, let's say somebody goes and tries to tamper with this data, right? Like putting A. You see, the whole bit chain is broken now, right? Not only this breaks, this also is broken. Why? Because the hash has changed. It's not 4 leading zeros anymore. So you need to mine it. Let's say you mine it. Even though it is mined, still the next block is not correct, because the next block holds this hash here in the previous, right? And this hash and this hash are now different. That is why it is not correct now, right? So now you have to mine this also. So, and each mining of these Bitcoins using powerful rigs takes around 10 to 15 minutes. So that is why when you have 487872 kind of situation, you cannot mine everything and get another proper blockchain. And even if you've got it, when you send it for certification or when you send it for validation, others will not validate it, because they know that only the last block is changed. So if you change the other block, they won't validate it. So that is how, so the changed block will be rejected. that is how the integrity of the mining remains intact, right? So the integrity of a blockchain, when they say that data inside a blockchain is immutable, this is how it happens. Okay, let's get back to our thing, right? And right now the Bitcoin is grown to be around 390 gigabytes in size, showing the magnitude of recorded transactions. The recorded transaction is so huge, and they are being magnitude is there, right? And then the it's 390 GB right now, and the real-time data. So it's like you can see in the blockchain and explorerpts.com, real time. It's a public blockchain, right? So when you look at the Bitcoin miners, they're having these rigs, and they should be able to process these transactions that are coming in and making into a block, and then they're trying to mine it. And so some miners validate what other miners have mined and showing that, okay, now we have found the proper block. So others validate it, and they get awarded in bitcoins for that. Okay, and more miners are present, and the more secure the Bitcoin is, right? So you saw that the validators are spread across the world, right? So that is how that is how they secure the network, because now you cannot shut them down. And also to make like I was showing, right, you can like manipulate the blockchain by changing one and then mining all the song. Even if somebody is able to do that, they should be able to take control of 51% of the validators to be able to manipulate it, so to get a consensus of pushing their blockchain. But 51%, you see how difficult it is when they are spread out across the world, right? So that is why by doing decentralization, the network is secured, right? And miners use powerful computers to solve these problems, and you don't have to. So if you want to become a miner, you can become a miner. There is no permission required from anybody, and the person is rewarded in bitcoins, right? So that's a very important thing there. And so to look at it a little bit more, right? So if you have a centralized database, it is in the center and everybody accesses it, right? Don't banks use it, Visa, MasterCard, all these things use it. But when you come off a blockchain database, the copy of it is stored in many different machines across the world, right? All these miners hold this, right? So that is why it is called a decentralized database. And the role of Bitcoin miners is so and then they're doing a decentralized validation, they're doing transaction processing. So one thing I want to tell about this Bitcoin miners is that, so you saw that in the block 0 they were getting around 50 bitcoins, right? And now it is around 3.25 bitcoins. Now why it has reduced? So again, this is a very interesting story here about their founder, Satoshi Nakamoto. Now so again, there is a lot of mystery surrounding Satoshi Nakamoto. Basically nobody knows what his identity is, whether it is one person or a group of people. And the person has created the Bitcoin in 2009, and a lot of developers also started working on it. It is an open source, and then the person just disappeared one fine day. They did not, after that the person never came out. Today is 2024, the person has not come out for the last 15 years at least. And this is a huge mystery surrounding where the person is and all that. Okay, so the person has gifted to the world Bitcoin, and the person has just disappeared. Now this is something which is and the person, and then this is a rule that they kept. It's called Bitcoin halving event, which is every 4 years the Bitcoin that is awarded to the miners decreases by half. Okay, which means that if it is 50 in 2009, in 2013, after 2013, exactly after some 12 in the midnight, and then of course next day they'll be starting only awarding around 25 bitcoins. After 2017, on one particular day, they'll be awarding 12.5. So like that, it got reduced to today's 3.25, and it'll further reduce. So you might be thinking, so why was that done, right? So that was done mainly for the reason that today we are at like 19 million plus bitcoins, right? So these numbers, the only way new bitcoins created by awarding new bitcoins to these miners, and now they want to reduce that supply. So they will not move towards the 20 million at all. So the 21 million at all. 21 million is the maximum they can go, right? So they will not be able to move to, they'll be moving much and more slowly as time goes by. And Satoshi Nakamoto's design was so nice that he thought, that in a matter of, over a period of time, the Bitcoin's value will be going up, right? So that will be enough for these miners to, they need all these rooms, all these, rigs, all these, they have to pay for electricity, pay for building, they have to feed their families and all that, right? And so even after doing that, they'll be able to make profit, right? That is what these people are, corrected, right? So this is the most important thing that you have to understand about the Bitcoin miners. Okay, now this is the one more important chart. The Bitcoin, to mine a Bitcoin, you see in 2000, before 20 it was much more easier. Now it's getting more and more difficult. Why it is getting more difficult is simply because there are more and more miners that are getting added, and the Bitcoin size itself is increasing a lot. So, and then a lot more transactions are bunched in. So all this makes it more difficult. And that is why Bitcoin is a very, so even after taking all this difficulty, they are still able to make profit, because today Bitcoin prices is hovering around 69,700, right, dollars. So what is the benefits and applications of Bitcoin? So the digital asset can be transferred from one person to another without any intermediary. Now that is a very powerful thing, right? The trust creates a secure, unalterable, permanent record of who owns what using advanced cryptography, right? So it's a powerful way of getting from one person to another, and then the reliability, right? And then you do not have to wait. It will be like there is no single point of failure. It's much faster, and the entire system will never go down. It's always will reach the target person, right? And the key benefits of blockchain is it is impossible to counterfeit, right? Which means inside the network there is no way there could be counterfeit. If you take a normal currency, you can create a currency like that, right? And people have tried doing it. A lot of people have counterfeited it, right? So that can never happen with Bitcoin. And the decentralized cryptocurrency are impervious to manipulations by governments. It's a very important information. So see, if you look at the currency that all of us are holding, whichever country that you are looking at this from, and what the government is doing to the currency is they are debasing it. What is debasing is they're printing more and more money of that same currency every year, which means, let's say today you are able to buy something for 5 of your currency. Next year you need 6 for it. Why? Because the currency is being debased. So the money that you hold, indirectly the government is debasing it, so your buying power decreases. Correct? So this is what is not happening with Bitcoin. It will always be 21 million. Okay, and today is 19 around 19 plus, and then it keeps on going very slowly, right, towards the 21 million. But it will take years and years for it to reach anywhere near it. And since it is the total is fixed, when the demand increases, there is no other way than the price of the Bitcoin to go up. That is why as a global currency and as a fixed currency, right? So this is going to, as an individual, it has to benefit you. It will benefit you a lot, right? And it's a fast settlement. Like, let's say have you done any kind of overseas transactions where it took you 48 hours? Here it is a fast settlement, right? Can help over 2 billion underbanked people worldwide, right? So it can help around 2 billion underbanked people are there worldwide who does not have access to bank for various reasons, and Bitcoin can help there. And billions of dollars in cryptocurrency exchange hand worldwide, right? People exchange Bitcoin, right? And no physical currency to transmit infection. During COVID times, you saw that people were able to transfer, currencies between, and then the infection was spreading. In Bitcoin, that will never happen, right? Now, what is the impact of the blockchain, right? What is the impact that this blockchain is having, right? A glorified linked list, that's what it is, right? And some software protocols are able to challenge all the currencies in the world. Who would have thought about that, right? Something which a unknown mysterious person comes in and creates a design which no government is able to hack into or is able to shut it down, and they created it and they just mysteriously disappeared, and no investigation agencies or anybody was able to find it, right? And the first time in the history of the world, there is a global currency which cannot be debased, and that is amazing, right? Even gold, right, which is a second which is a which was a golden currency, global currency for like 4,000 years, can still be mined. More and more can be mined, right? They're saying in Mars there is a lot of gold mined, right? But Bitcoin is only 21 million, and governments around the world fought against it, tried punishing users, and now slowly accepting it. If you see, we have now a Bitcoin ETF, that is exchange traded funds. American Security Exchange Commission has accepted Bitcoin as an investment, and allowed agencies to open Bitcoin exchange traded funds, so people can now start buying Bitcoin, not through some unknown exchanges, but properly through people like BlackRock and all these big institutions. So, and that is being echoed across the world. So Hong Kong has done it, Australia, it is happening in Europe, in UK, everywhere it's happening. So Bitcoin is being accepted now across the world. And if centralized money transfer can be decentralized, what is next? Can there be a lending, staking? Lending. So lending money, can that be decentralized? Staking, like, can you, like, just like you put in your deposit, right, and then money comes in every month, can that be decentralized? Web3 gaming, right? Gaming is a very powerful way to decentralize gaming, because right now publisher holds all the rights. Right now you play and then you pay money to the publisher. Instead of that, can you play and you make money yourself, right? Web3 gaming. AI, right? AI today is trying to be centralized by only some companies. So can it be decentralized and make made use by everybody, right? And real world assets, right? So any building, let's say there is a building, and the building is cost is $1 million, an ordinary person cannot buy it, but a rich people can buy it and leave it for rent and make money. But if it is being tokenized, and if it is being put as 1,000 or $100 per token, everybody can own it, and then they can get the fruits of that real estate, right? So real world asset tokenizing, huge opportunity, right? Casino, today we have meme coins which are being traded like casinos, and that is another, there are a lot of governments ban casinos, which put a lot of restrictions, but in the decentralized world, it is anybody can go and do it. So thank you. So this is my first presentation. I'm going to put it as I'm doing it as a first presentation. So thank you for watching.